Hey, I'm Marius from LearnDev and welcome to this video about CSS subgrids. Take a look at this nested grid. The blue items are the parent grid and the orange items are the nested child grid. As you can see, the child grid has its own grid tracks. Here, the orange items of the nested grid are aligned to the grid tracks of the parent. And this is what CSS grids are all about. This is a grid of blog post teasers. The teasers itself are a subgrid. The orange numbers indicate the grid tracks of the subgrid. The red ones, the tracks of the parent. What do you notice? Exactly, parent and subgrid tracks align perfectly. Let's compare it to a teaser where subgrid is disabled. And as you can see, the child grid is not aligned to the parent grid tracks. So basically, the subgrid feature in CSS is like the conductor of a music band. Similar to a conductor, parent grids with subgrids ensure that everyone plays in sync. The conductor is the parent, and each band member is a separate subgrid. Before we dive into the code, don't forget to subscribe. It really helps me out. And if you'd like to support the channel even more, feel free to use the thanks button or become a channel member for extra benefits. I've provided the code for this tutorial on GitHub. Check out the link in the description. We will work with two examples, a simple one and a complexer one. Let's start with the simple one. So first we have to copy the files from the start folder to the solution folder. Once we've done that, let's open the index.html file in the solution folder. The file defines a basic grid of divs numbered from 1 to 9. And the CSS file already has styles to prepare the grid and its items. Now let's take a look how the code is rendered in the browser. And as you can see, we've got a simple grid of 3 rows and 3 columns. Now we are going to create the subgrid. First, we have to edit the HTML. Let's wrap item 4 and 5 into another div with class subgrid. Now let's open the CSS file and write the CSS for our subgrid. At the bottom of the file, we create a new CSS rule for the subgrid class. The first thing we do is setting the display property to grid. And then let's change the background color of the subgrid items to make them distinguishable from the parent. Take a look at the result. The subgrid items are not aligned to the parent grid tracks. Now it's time for the actual subgrid magic. When we set grid template columns to subgrid, we tell the browser to align the columns of the child grid to the parent grid. Let's also set grid column to span 2 to make the subgrid taking up 2 columns of the parent. Now the subgrid items are aligned to the parent grid with a size of 2 columns. Check out the red track numbers to understand what I mean. Let's remove grid template column subgrid again and observe what happens. Now the child grid creates its own grid layout again and isn't aligned to the parent. Nice, we've completed the first example. Let's continue with the second, more advanced subgrid example. Let's copy the files from the start to the solution folder again to set up the example. Next, let's open the index.html file and have a look. This example is about creating blog teasers using subgrids. Initially, the child items of the teasers do not align. Let's fix this by defining subgrids. This time, we want the rows of the child grids aligned to the parent grid rows. The card class is the top-level container of each teaser. So let's add grid template rows subgrid to the existing card rule. We want each teaser to take up 4 rows of the parent. So we write grid row span 4. Great! All the child items of the teasers are now aligned. To make it even more clear, let's remove the subgrid property from the last teaser. So we create another CSS rule for card using the last child pseudo class and unset the grid template rows. Okay, let's check the result. Take a look at the last teaser to the right. Its grid items aren't aligned to the other teasers anymore. We have reached the end of this video. Thank you for watching. I hope you liked it and learned a lot. If you have any question, just leave me a comment below. Have a great day and see you next time.